morning, Wisconsin, and welcome to Fridays with Father, the show where we find priests, we interview them, we have fun, but you know what? Today might actually be a little bit different. You see, we don't really have a father with us today, at least not with a capital F. You see, on the other side of your screen, you will see Deacon Lincoln Wood. Deacon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Loving the quarantine life right now.
Aren't we all, right? Deacon is actually the pastoral leader at St. Thomas More in Appleton, Wisconsin. One of the spiritual directors as well for Spiritus, very, very close to Spiritus, as is your entire family. Deacon, it's a pleasure to do this interview. I'm excited.
It's great to be here.
And, you know, I know your path to the diaconate, it's an interesting one. And you've told us the story before. I would love if you could actually share it again with us right now. It started out with you studying to be a priest, didn't it?
Yeah. So I started out, I was going to college at the University of Wyoming. Great place. Go there if you can. And got involved with the Newman Center, which was the campus ministry. It was a parish there that had a mission out to the university. And I always joke that I got on Sister's Rolodex because I went to Mass, and mainly for social reasons. I was born and raised Catholic, but mainly for social reasons, but got involved in things, and she started calling me for more and more things, and then ended up getting in this leadership program, and I had a priest as my mentor, and he said, "Have you ever thought about being a priest?" I said, "Sure. I've thought about it, but not till I'm done with college." And he said, "Well, why don't you pray about that for a little bit?" So I did, and he was a wise man, and he said, "You know, Lincoln, no matter what you decide, whether you're a priest or not, your time in seminary will not be wasted, and it will be a good experience." And so I went before I graduated from college and studied to be a priest for a number of years, just discerning that vocation to see if that's where I was called. And it turned out that was not where I was called. During a summer of chaplaincy work as a intern chaplain in Billings, Montana, I met a woman that I fell in love with and who is now my wife, and didn't leave the seminary right away. I stayed because I didn't know what falling in love meant for my future. So I prayed through that, and God made it very clear that whatever I chose, he was going to walk with me. And so I chose to leave seminary to discern marriage, and that led me down this path. And for a long time, I was a pastoral associate. I wasn't a deacon, but I was a professional lay minister in the church. But over time, felt a deeper and deeper call to committed life of a consecrated life towards service in the church in a public official way, and discerned a calling to the diaconate, and did some formation in Wyoming where I was working at the time, and then landed in Green Bay and was ordained a deacon by Bishop Ricken about 5 or 6 years ago.
Awesome. Yeah, I always love that story. And I guess it's interesting because a lot of people know, they know what priests are, right? People see priests, they know what they do. Deacons, sometimes people get confused. So I was wondering, could you give us maybe a job description of what a Catholic deacon does for all those who may not know?
Sure. Yeah, the deacon really isn't a job. So you'll see deacons doing a little bit of everything. And really it's a vocation towards service. It's a call in a special way towards service. And really the diaconate has its roots in the New Testament, in the Acts of the Apostles. And the situation at that time was the apostles were going out and preaching the word, and they saw that there were other things that needed to get done. There were certain people who weren't being served. So they called 7 men and ordained them to do this service that they could not do. And so theologically, the diaconate has always been tied to responding to the need that's there. The diaconate has 2 kind of meanings to it. One is to be sent on behalf of the bishop. So bishops have a direct relationship with, or deacons have the direct relationship with the bishop, and then to respond to whatever needs the bishop sees. It's odd, historically, what I'm doing now, because I'm basically like a pastor for the parish I serve, that is the one job in the whole history of the church that deacons have not done. We generally do everything else because that's what needs to be done. But now there's a need for leaders in parishes that isn't there because in our diocese, we don't have the priests to do that. So I've been sent by the bishop to meet that need. Now, if that need changes or the bishop decides something else, I'm sent into that new context.
Okay, 100%. And so, how does it look for somebody who might be called to the diaconate, right? Because sometimes I hear people say stuff like that, if you want to be a priest, but also want to have a family, just be a deacon. That's not really how it's supposed to work, though.
No, they're very, very different charisms. If you want to be a pastor and feel a call to leading a community and shepherding a flock, you should be ordained a priest. That's really what they're calling, the heart of it is that shepherd call and that sacrificial, celebrating the Eucharist. If you want to serve the church as the church needs, if you want to be a public person in the church, to have a role that is stable, that's part of the hierarchy, it's biblical, it's founded, one of the foundational pillars of the church, but not necessarily to be called to be a shepherd and to offer the sacrifice of the Mass. That's more a call to the diaconate. And it's a separate, you can get married you can't get married as a deacon. You can get married and then become a deacon.
Right.
So once you're ordained, you can't get married again. So for instance, if some tragedy were to happen and my wife were to die, I could not marry again. Once you're ordained, you can't get married. But with deacons, you can be married and then ordained. And actually, you have to be at least 35 to be ordained a deacon. So they want you to have a little bit of a track record of starting a family, of a stable marriage, of ministering in the church. They call it of being a proven virtue. So that's part of the process of discerning the diaconate.
Okay, yeah, thank you for clearing that up for us as well, because I think even I learned some new things with that. So that's really awesome. Is there anything else you want to say? Any other last second messages for the youth that you think they need to hear right now?
I think what you need to hear is God loves you. God is with you. Jesus is walking through you through this, whatever it is, and trust in Jesus. That's what I got.
Great message. Thank you so much, Deacon, for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
You know what? And everybody else, join us next week. We're going to be back at it with another great episode of Fridays with Father. See you then.
God bless.